All right, so I was debating on doing like a multiple point or multiple fucking part to this thing, because it's something I really wanted to address. I've been wanting to talk about it for 2 days and just haven't had the time because I have a lot of stuff that I kind of want to talk about. Could potentially be a longer video. Now I know not everybody is down with a longer video, and I know some of you guys are, and I don't mind making the longer videos, but I'm extremely tired. But I'm also being stubborn because I have lost 2 days and I really want to talk about this real quick. So I'm kind of like squish one part of it of my notes down and talk about my biggest takeaway from the Luke Wilson and podcast from with Downstar or Downstars podcast with Luke Wilson. Now, this is something that I've always had to wrestle with from the very beginning of me trying to do engine work for people, right? And also is kind of a little bit of verification on something for me personally that I've kind of figured out over the past year, and I've finally settled in with and acknowledged. And so one of the reasons why I started doing, wanted to do the engine building is because I like it. I enjoy it. For one thing, it's fun. Now, it's also, thing I want to be able to do as much of the work as I possibly can. Like eventually, I'm going to start welding this year, so I'm going to do that as well. I don't plan on doing that for other people, but just for me, there's lots of things I want to be able to do for myself that I'm not, I don't want to sub out. Like I don't want to give this to somebody else to do that work for me, right? So when he was saying is that one of the things I remember, so I wrote down here was he's not getting paid for the time building. You don't get paid by the hour to build engines. I've said a whole bunch of times that I would guess it takes about 16 hours to do a short block, but it could be potentially more. It just depends on if you run into any bumps in the roads, plus just how fast you are, how fast you're trying to be deliberately or whatnot. Generally saying, I always say a ballpark general safe estimation is 16 hours to do an engine. I mean, that's tear it apart and put it back together, right? And you don't get paid for that, so you got to come up with a flat rate that you can feel comfortable with saying covers how much effort I'm putting into this job, right? And I still fluctuate a little bit, $50 here and there on labor, and I'm especially if it's something I'm new doing. Like right now, recently I've been doing the heads. I'm charging $200 for labor, and I'm going back and forth on whether I should charge more or not. The original idea was this is easier than the block, but it really isn't. It really takes about the same amount of time, or I wouldn't say the exact same amount of time, but the other day I was talking about how I did 3 teardowns for heads, right? I got 3 cylinder heads, tore them all down, and I was just taking them apart, and it took me 3 fucking hours to do that. And it didn't seem like 3 hours when I was doing the work, but it took me 3 hours. So it's just like, wow, it's time, so the second thing to come into this is time management, right? Like I was saying in the beginning, I want to do as much of the work as myself as possible. I don't want to give it out, right? So my first example in case of this being, and I always said, I wasn't saying avoid the machine shop, don't go to the machine shop, I was just saying that for people like me who are budget oriented, you got to really pick your battles with the machine shop. Like when do you need to take it to the machine shop? And that's also something I've talked about on this channel a bunch, right? So I always want to try to minimize my trips to the machine shop, and then it's only recently over the past year or so that I've gotten used to making the machine shop somewhat of a normal thing. I've been there plenty enough times now where the guys know me now. And that was something that I was just avoiding. And so what happened was, what came to it was piston swapping, like pressing pistons, right? I got a press from Harbor Freight and I was pressing over pistons. Now the thing is every once in a while I'd fuck up being impatient and I would lose a piston, right? It would explode on the fucking press. And also there's always a little bit of stress compression marks in the pistons from where you're pushing it off and pushing it on. And the big, huge factor of this is that it takes a lot of time to do this, right? So so consider that. How much time is it going to take me to build a short block, right? And if you're asking for something that high compression pistons on stock rods or press fit over, right? So then I got to consider how much time it's going to take me to press those pistons off, press the new ones on, and consider the fact that I'm getting new pistons for somebody that I could potentially break and then have to eat the cost for, right? So these are all things to consider. And I'm like, and on top of that, I'm charging you to press the pistons over. So if I want to keep fair, like I want to either match the price of the machine shop or charge less. So the machine shop charges like $50 to press over pistons. Now, or it's like 45 or something like that. So if I was charging $10 a piston, that's $40, right? And I think that's fair, and that's also right around what the fucking machine shop charges. But then you add the time factor, how much time it takes to do that, and then you add the risk of losing a piston. So it's better for me to just take it to the machine shop. Now, I'm losing the money, but I'm gaining back the time, and time is money. So if it takes me 2 hours to safely press over pistons without losing any, do I want to do that? Do I want to take those hours that I'm sweating, like, oh my God, I hope I don't fuck this up? Yeah, it doesn't seem justifiable anymore. Regardless, I'm not paying for it. Like, if you the customer are gonna pay for piston pressing regardless whether you're paying me or you're paying the machine shop. At least with me not doing the work anymore and taking it to the machine shop, I'm taking one part of the thing out of my hands that I'm not gonna have to worry about wasting the time or spending the time on, and also I'm guaranteed that it's not gonna get fucked up. So it's more fair. It's more fair to you, the customer or the potential customer, to not be greedy with that, trying to get that extra money and sub that out to somebody. And the reason why I mentioned that, why it's a big thing for me was also is like they said Ramy Racing does their engine sleeving. Like if you're getting a sleeve block from 4-piston, they're not the ones doing the sleeve work that Ramy Racing is. He's like, well, we have machines, we can do that in house, but we just, by not doing it, we focus on what we want to do more. So, it's one of those things, if you need to, you can do it, but you don't have to. Ramy does work that they appreciate, or that does work to their quality, their standard. And, again, I'm imagining that they're not fucking paying Ramy Racing to do this. The customer's paying because they're charging what Ramy's going to charge, and then they take that money and give it to them. And it allows to build a relationship between two guys, Ramy Racing and 4-piston. So you build a working relationship also, and you also get to take something that you don't want to take time doing off of your hands, and you're not even paying for it. So it's great. It's a great thing. So not only am I giving into the fact that I'm going to have to be boring over blocks every once in a while, just because of the fact that I'm going to, people are going to want that. The customer desires a bored over block for a perfect cylinder. So like 81.5 millimeter, 81.5 millimeter, 86.5, 87.5, these things I'm going to have to get used to, especially as I start to expand on my products and what I keep and carry. I want to have pistons and stuff, so have these things ready to go. So I'm going to have to, now I've always said that, it's cheaper to buy another block and go with a standard bore, which is true, but the demand is there. People want fresh blocks. So, and then I have several Ks that need to be poured over. So it's either I throw them away or I bore them out. Now, I'm not against just getting another block, but when you have 3 or 4 that start to stack up that all need that same kind of work, then it's like, hey, it's no longer cost effective for me to get rid of 3 blocks. I can just, do the machine work. So another thing was a question I got the other day on Instagram was like, hey, I took a couple heads of machine shop. I got them redone, resurfaced. And he was like, well, why didn't you just get the sandpaper and do it like that? Now, yes, I know if you get a perfectly flat surface and you get the proper grit sandpaper, you can take the head, use the weight of the head itself, and just push it back and forth, and it effectively will take off what you need. They took off like 10,000ths of an inch, the machine shop. It's a decent amount, but not a lot. So I would imagine that I could do that probably in a couple hours, if not less, of just working it back and forth. I've watched plenty of people on YouTube do it. I watched one guy, barely spend any time at all, and he was already making a noticeable difference. So then I have to consider, like my time. How much time is it going to take me to smooth out any imperfections in the head, right? Am I going to charge you for that? Yeah. How much am I going to charge you for that? Well, I got to charge you somewhat appropriate to the time. So if it's going to take me several hours to do that, then I'm going to charge you what the machine shop would probably charge you, right? You know, it was $75. Now they bumped up the price to 85. But I would imagine 80 to $100 I'm going to charge you because of how many hours I could potentially spend doing this shit. You know, plus buying the material and everything. So the decision was, I'm going to charge you around what the machine shop's going to charge you anyway. Now, do I really want to spend the time to make that kind of money when I could spend that same time doing something else and I could give it to the machine shop? I'm not paying for it. You are. And it's going to be faster. It's going to be easier for me, and it's going to be guaranteed to be really good. And no hiccups, right? As far as the single cam head, I was pretty sure that head was gonna pass. It did, except for one spot, and I could see it. And if you look at the pictures on Instagram, you can even still see the remainders of the shadow of that low spot. The spot was so low that you could feel it with your fingertip. Everything in the head was straight except for that one spot near that I can't remember which one it was, which cylinder it was, but it was definitely a low spot. And so I think Honda tells you to check around like 2/1000 of an inch. I would have to check the specific head or whatnot, but generally speaking, I always check my decks and my heads by 3/1000 of an inch. That's still pretty fucking small. It's pretty small, and everything that I've ever checked with 3/1000 of an inch is always gone, and I've never had any issues with blown head gaskets or whatnot. Right? I think like anything after 4/1000 is like a fucking no go. Like at 4/1000 of an inch, if a 4/1000 of an inch is passing under your straight edge, then you need to get it resurfaced, right? So all of the head was checking out. The one spot had the 4/1000 of an inch was fitting through. So I'm like, even if it was my head, I'm not so confident that I would send this, you know. So the decision was made to resurface. And then even when the machines gave it back, he's like, it's not 100%. You know, I can still take off some more, but I think it's going to be good. The guy's an expert in the field. So I deferred his judgment. And then when I got home, I checked the low spot, you know, because, you know, so I was like, I knew the spot. Even when he was telling me, I was like, this is the spot. And he goes, yeah. I'm like, yeah, I know that spot is the reason why I brought you the head. So I went to go check it out, and it passed. Like, I think 2/1000 of an inch was the biggest I could fit under there. I'm pretty sure. So I'm like, yeah, that passes for me. And the machinist said the same thing. It's passing for him, right? So that was why. And then the K20 Z3 head I was actually a little worried that wouldn't be fixable. It was so fucking far off. I think 6/1000 of an inch was fit under that. He took 10/1000 of an inch off that too, and it passes. So yeah. I definitely look forward. The machine shop that I use is like right down the street from me. It's like a half mile away. So now it's on the way to work and from, to and from work. So that's great for me. I hope to expand on that relationship in the future. And that goes to play into what I'm saying. Like I wanted to keep CSS blocks stocked and ready to go, but I was like, how can I effectively do that? Right? Because CSS, now you can run a stock bore CSS. They recommend that you bore over. You don't have to though. So I'm like, well, what the fuck can I do? I don't want to pre-order pistons for every single block. It's already going to be expensive enough doing the process for CSS. But I still want to do this. I would imagine that I would like to have at least 3 blocks, maybe a DB and a K, do something like that, and then just replace them as I sell them. So I was like, then that was what the idea that occurred to me. I'll send out a stock block to get stock bore CSS, and then I'll have that on the side. And then if I get somebody who wants to 81.5, 82 millimeter, or whatever they want to bore over, then I'll just bore over locally, and that fee will just be added on, because I'm pretty sure CSS the 150. I want to say they charge 150 to bore and hone, which is exactly what the guy does that's close to me. So that clears that hurdle. So anyway, I just wanted to talk about, the time management thing and why I'm using the machine shop now, when I've told you guys a million times you don't have to. And I still stand by what I stand by. Like, for me, I've realized the more of this work I'm going to do, how regular I'm going to do is how many blocks I go through, how many heads I go through to pass through. It's going to have to be a common thing that some of the shit's just going to have to go and get sent out. I had one block that I had to get bored over. I think it was a K20 when I went to 80 millimeter. And they, before I sent it to them, I checked it out, and they asked me if I did. I was like, yeah, I checked it. I checked the deck already to make sure that because he's like, do you want a deck at 2? And I'm like, it's kind of expensive and it's not necessary. Now, I'm not going to do it if it's not necessary. I had big ass pistons that were going in that block, so I needed to get bored over to use those big ass pistons. But my deck passed the inspection. My inspection is what I'm looking for. It was fine. Now the guy called me back and he tried to sell me on a decking anyway. He's like, hey, we found a low spot. But of course, they're trying to make money too. But like I said, I already inspected it and it passed for what I want to do. So we're going to be good to go. And then even then later on, I know we're looking at it the same way because he fucking told me the same thing that I already knew when I brought him that head. So yeah, anyway, I just wanted to, I want to talk about, time management and everything, and how the fact that you don't really get paid for the engine work and the head work that you're doing. You just got to try and come up with a comfortable flat rate that you think it's fair for how much time you're going to spend. Alright guys, so anyway, I said in the last video I wasn't going to do plugs, but I'm gonna wait before I start putting all my links back in videos, and when I get the internet set up so I have, I can do it on the computer. I don't feel like editing on the phone, but I do have decals in stock for sale. They're $10 each. I plan on keeping those as a regular thing, and then as the money flows from other things, I will invest in more merch. Like I will eventually invest in doing shirts and hoodies again. I just want to see how often I can sell the stickers. If it's something that you guys are, whatever. If the audience isn't down for buying something for $10, then it kind of makes me a little hesitant to stock up on merchandise that's going to cost significantly more. Especially if we're talking about hoodies, we're talking about at least $50 to $40 for that, and the shirts are like $20 to $25. So anyway. So if you do want to show a little bit of support that doesn't cost you too much money, you can get a sticker from me. Just hit me up in the DMs on whatever social media you prefer to use. And I do have Patreon. Right now I have one patron, and I haven't even collected the money from that guy yet because I haven't been able to figure out how to fucking do that for whatever reason. So I do have Patreon, and there are multiple levels to it. For you guys who are real talkative, like to ask me a million questions, there's a level for that too. That includes my phone number and access to my brain for at least an hour. So there are a little bit of benefits to the Patreon besides just me, because I'm not gonna lie, as time goes by and the channel gets bigger, there are questions that I don't answer just because of the fact that I know if you spend a little time searching, you'll find them. Like, it's here. So yeah, that's it. Wow, this turned out to be a pretty long video. Yeah guys, thanks for watching. I appreciate it, and peace. See y'all tomorrow.